Welcome to a brand new episode of The Untold, the show where we have amazing people telling their stories, their journeys, their everything. For today's episode, we have Joshua Guzmán, and I'm your host, Abdullah Hindiani. I'm joined by my colleague.
Al Athari. Our guest today is an antique dealer and a teacher who moved here from Southern California, which I find fascinating, Abdullah.
Yeah, it's amazing because I studied in, I'm not sure where Los Angeles is, South or North California, but I studied there. So it's a long journey, it's a long trip. So whenever I see people from there who came here for opportunities, I'm so curious to talk to them, sit with them, have a little bit insight on their journey and where they, find their place here.
I am curious to see why he came to Kuwait or what brought him here. And his career is so unique in the sense of I think a lot of people don't work with antiques anymore.
Right.
So I'm curious to see what he has to say on the subject.
Yeah, so antiques carry a lot of, emotional value, sentimental value, monetary value, and I'm sure he's going to be explaining all of that to us, but after he joins us right after the break. And we are back on The Untold. We are joined by Joshua Guzmán, and I want to first welcome you. And I also want to tell you, you are the first American we've had on The Untold for this season. So, thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I believe you are an antiques and traditional craftsman. So I want to go into that a little bit more because it's such a niche kind of, field. So what first got you into all of this?
So growing up, my family back in the States just always loved everything old. So we would visit old places and we would visit old houses. And I don't know, I always had this appreciation for old stuff. I think also because I'm from California and California doesn't have a lot of old stuff. It's a relatively new place. Anything old felt special. So I think that's kind of what initially interested me in antiques is it felt like something unique and rare. And that was something that caught my attention at first.
I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate old things and the craftsmanship of old things. Nowadays, a lot of things are made to be quick and convenient and they don't last like things did in the past.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you're in this field because it gets you to kind of view so many different items that are really beautiful.
Yeah.
Would you say that growing up in Southern California, where the culture is super diverse, helped influence your taste to, pick antiques?
Yeah, definitely. So I think anytime you're living in a place where there's immigrants from all over the world, you're gonna see their stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think and also like travel is so normal now that you'll see souvenirs or touristic items from other countries that people have brought in, or people have just brought stuff with them when they immigrated to the States. So yeah, I think being exposed to not just beautiful old things from where I'm from, but beautiful old things from all over the world, that just, I don't even feel this sense of particular interest in one specific thing. I love all of it because I think as you alluded to, craftsmanship and the beauty of old items that were made to last, because they didn't have that same sort of mindset that I'm going to replace this in 3 months. It was like, I actually need to buy something that's going to last me for a long time because I don't have a lot of expendable income. So things were made to last, and exposure to so many different cultures. And me, myself, my father's from Mexico, my mother's from the United States. Being in that sort of family, it also opened my eyes to the possibilities of experiencing different cultures.
Yeah. And speaking of experiencing different cultures, you've also gone through, your travels. So has your work in this kind of field, did it influence or your perception of souvenirs from around the world, or your approach to items, or is it still, it does have the same kind of joy as the first time you went into it blind without all of this knowledge behind you?
Yeah, so at this point, I almost exclusively travel to source because, well, let's be real. Every time I travel, I source. It doesn't matter if I'm intentionally going or I'm just always sourcing because it's what I love to do. It's my favorite thing to do. So yeah, I think thankfully, living in Kuwait, this might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but living in Kuwait, there's a lot of stuff from all over the world. there's just like California, there's people that come here from all over the world and they bring their stuff with them. And also people travel, bring souvenirs back with them. So yeah, I definitely think my travels have given me knowledge. It's given me, I think something that's so important, speaking of diversity and buying things from other cultures, you have to get to the place where you actually learn about those cultures. Because it's not fair to the culture to just have something that you don't know anything about. I think it's important to experience the culture so you can understand what is this piece for, and how can I honor this piece. So is it okay if I give an example?
Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
I think so when I see people in the United States, for example, they'll have prayer rugs that they'll find from online, and they don't understand the value, the sanctity of this piece, and they'll just use it in inappropriate ways. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. It's like learning about the people so that you're using their items in a way that's honoring to the culture, and not only honoring to the culture, but honoring to the piece itself.
I never thought about it like that. Like, I do love antiques and old items, but I wouldn't have thought about the cultural significance behind them. So it's really cool that when you're shopping for things or, sourcing, that is something that you have in mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any place in particular that's the best, I don't know, country or place to get these kind of items?
So I'm pretty exclusive in Kuwait. Like, I do a bit of travel. Like, I travel when I'm in the States during the summers, I'll source. But yeah, most of what I find is here in Kuwait already. So I think it's again, understanding the background and the history of these items. And it's also like, it's fun because you get to learn about the history of Kuwait. You get to learn about the history of the people that lived here.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of what I do is here in Kuwait.
And so how do you determine the value of things now with all of your experience? Like, if I'm somewhere and I find a lot of antiques, someone with your experience, with your knowledge, how would I separate what's truly valuable and what is like, just wooden stuff?
I think it's so interesting to consider the idea of value. Let's say, so value has so much to do with who's selling it.
Yeah.
Which is such a crazy thing for me. This is something that I've just recently started like understanding in a deeper way. I could have a piece that's old that in a certain space would just sell for like ridiculous amounts of money. But it's about your customer base, it's about your audience, it's about the reach of your business. So I could find something that's really inexpensive because I'm buying it from somebody that doesn't have a wide reach. So I think value, really, this is going to sound kind of funny. Value is less about intrinsic value and more about how much is somebody going to pay for something. Yeah. And is this something that's so rare that multiple people are going to be interested in buying it? So sometimes I'll have a piece on my website that I think this is cool, but I don't really know if it's that valuable. And I'll list it, and within 10 minutes, it's sold. And then I have 5 people messaging me, I want that, I want that, I want that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's like a one-of-a-kind piece and there's nothing I can do. So I think, yeah, it's interesting to consider value. Obviously, I'm gonna add a little bit to that. Materials, like a valuable material is gonna add to the value. Age, and also like the quality of the piece. So like, for example, a painting, just because you have a painting doesn't mean it's going to be valuable. If it's by a certain person, if it's by a reputable art school, these sorts of things are going to be valuable, even if it looks like something that is the same. If you have a name added to it, then just like when you think about luxury brands, right? I can go to China and buy something. This is this is a little bit controversial. I can go to China and buy something that's the same quality as a luxury brand.
Yeah.
But because the luxury brand has a name, they're going to be able to sell it at a higher price. So
right.
Yeah, it's a tricky, tricky thing.
It sounds tricky.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are just not knowledgeable about how much things actually cost.
Yes.
For instance, growing up at my grandma's house, she has so many beautiful antiques from, you know, her time in life, and she would collect them and curate a very beautiful living room and seats. But my uncle, when he took over the house, he's more of a very modern guy.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get rid of a lot of stuff. So my mom took some of the couches and upholstered them and went, and she wanted to paint over, there was like gold edging on the couches. She wanted to paint over them. And the guy told her, you shouldn't do that because that's actually really valuable and unique. And this kind of piece only existed during this period of time.
Yeah.
So if you paint over it, you're going to reduce it in value.
Yes.
So I thought that was something really, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, for example, if that piece was gold gilded.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, that's an incredibly expensive process. And it's often done with real gold.
Really?
Yeah. And people don't realize, like, it's a difficult process. It takes a specific type of craftsperson to be able to do that. And yeah, we get to the place, and this is a worldwide phenomenon. This is not a Kuwaiti thing. This is a worldwide thing where people see something and they want to make that fit into their style.
True.
And they end up, yeah, as you said, detracting from the value by painting it. And I think this about wooden items all the time. There's this huge craze in the United States where people are like renewing things by painting them. You're not renewing a nice solid piece of furniture, solid wood piece of furniture by painting it a color. It's understanding, like, is this piece the way that it is right now really valuable? And something like gold gilding is incredibly valuable.
Yeah. And I do love how you mentioned that value and what is the meaning of value and how to put it into things, because I remember from watching the show Antique Roadshow, a lot of the, you know, the most surprised or, you know, shocked expressions are from people who thought their items had no value at all. And then they were hit with so much money. And so amazing watching their reactions all the time. It's like, this can have this much money. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah. And I want to ask you about something, you know, on your role as coming to Kuwait, because, you know, Kuwait is a very far away country from Southern California. So, you know, have you always envisioned yourself as working in the Middle East, or, you know, was that, you know, a spur of the moment kind of decision? How did all that come along?
I just got on a plane. No, I'm just kidding. No, so it's really interesting. I think back about this question all the time. Growing up, I never thought I was going to live in Kuwait. It wasn't even on my radar. However, I was always very interested as a child in Indian culture. And then when I was in school, my best friend was an Arab. And it was interesting. It wasn't intentional. He was the guy that I clicked with. And then when I got to high school, all of my friends were Arabs, and it just, I don't know, there was something about it that clicked kind of with my interests and my family values. As I mentioned earlier, my father's from Mexico. I find that Mexican and Arab culture, or Latin American and Arab culture, is very similar. There's a lot of similar traits to it. Like, for example, very, very large emphasis on family values and collectivistic society where people look out for each other. So I think I jived well with people from the Middle East, and then I ended up marrying my wife, who's also Middle Eastern. And then when we graduated from college, we decided, let's consider moving overseas. And so the Middle East was just a really good place for teachers, and that's how we ended up here. But I think back to these times growing up of kind of getting like used to the idea, obviously being still in the States, but getting used to the idea by getting to know people from the cultures. And yeah, I don't know, it's kind of trippy that happened, because there was no intentionality in it. It was just kind of accidental. Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that the different cultures kind of brought you here organically.
Yeah.
We're going to go on a short break, and then I hope we can dive more into this.
Yes.
Stay tuned for after the break.
And we're back, dear viewers. And I believe before the break, we got into your transition to coming to Kuwait. And I believe it was, the breadcrumbs of so many trails, or the trail of so many breadcrumbs that led you here. So I want to ask you about, the first time you got off the plane, your first few footsteps on Kuwait. How did that feel long? How did you make adjustments? Like, what was the process like?
Interesting. Yeah, so I think the first time I came was actually in February. I came for kind of like a scouting trip to see if this was going to work out. And yeah, I don't know. Like immediately when I got here, I was like, this is cool. Like I wasn't the kind of person who traveled a lot growing up. So for me to experience being exposed to a different culture was exciting, and nerve-wracking at the same time. I think like the first the first night that I got here, I don't think I should say what I'm about to say.
Try it, we'll see.
Nightmare.
Okay, the first night I got here, we got pulled over.
Oh no.
Like it wasn't bad. It was just we got pulled over and they like wanted to see my visa. It was a funny situation. So anyways, I feel like I like trial by fire right when I got here. But I think ultimately adjusting wise, it's not just adjusting to a new country. It's adjusting to a new job, adjusting to a new expectation from students. And then finding the Friday market was like one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I know that sounds kind of like dramatic, but no, for real, like that was,
we know.
yeah,
We know, yeah.
that was like one of the, and that happened my first year. That was like a life-changing event for me. I was able to like see the most like amazing antiques ever, and it was like so accessible, and
it's an amazing market.
Yeah, it's amazing. And don't go there, just kidding. No, it's an amazing place, and it's I think that sometimes people take it for granted because it's not even something that they have in other like Gulf countries. So yeah, experiencing Friday market, and then our first year we had a we had our first exposure to the rug bug. I'm going to call it the rug bug. Like we sat in with one of the carpet dealers who's still my friend, one of the carpet dealers in Mubarakia, and sat there for an hour talking about rugs. And it was like my head was exploding. I was like, what is this? Like this is like one of the most amazing things. And I think his passion and his knowledge just really like sparked something. Like I feel like certain things, and I tell people back in the States, certain things inside of me came alive when I came here in a way that I didn't experience in the States, which I don't think you can really describe to somebody that's not done that sort of like culture hop like that. So yeah, I feel like I came alive here, and I think also being in a society, but being on the outside of the society, because we're expats, like we're not from here. The expectations for us culturally are different. So like when I'm home, there's certain expectations, familial expectations and social expectations. But here, because we're a little bit different and on the outside, it's like I can kind of like do the things that I love, and like my family's not like worried about that, and like I'm not getting comments about blah blah blah. It's like no, I get to kind of just like experience like what I love, and I think that's what happened when I got here. I was able to experience things that I didn't really realize were like kind of like bubbling up inside of me. So like selling antiques and being around another culture all day long, like it was just, I don't know, I came alive in that.
That's really cool. I love that for you, honestly. I do think that it's really interesting how you said that you got the rug bug just from talking from someone at Mubarakia.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not something you would think that would happen that way.
Yeah.
Do you think that it was going to Mubarakia and also Friday Market that made you want to open up an antique shop here, as well as a carpet?
Yeah. So this is a funny story. I got the rug bug the first year. And
fast.
so fast. And I just started buying rugs all the time. I was like, I just, they're accessible, they're beautiful. Like that in the US, antique rugs are not something that most people have. You don't, like here, it's so common to have a
Yeah.
rug because of how close we are to the countries that make them, including Kuwait. So I had such access and I just went crazy. I was buying everything I saw that I loved. And things that some people would probably look at that and be like, oh, that's not very nice. But I was like, I don't care. Like, it's handmade. Like, what are you talking about? That's not nice. Like, so I was storing carpets like under every bed, in all the closets. Like, my house is full of carpets. The floor was already full, and then under the bed and in the closets. So my wife said, like, if you want to keep buying carpets, you need to start selling them because this isn't going to work. So that's literally how my business started, was my wife saying, if you want to keep buying, you have to start selling. And that's when I started my business in the US. I started shipping carpets there and it exploded. Like it was amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So special thank you to your wife, and also special thank you to, because Friday Market and Mubarkia are two of my absolute favorite places in Kuwait.
They're
So
amazing.
whoever introduced you to those two when you first came to Kuwait, thank you tremendously. And I want to ask you something about your experience in Kuwait, because there's a cultural shock, but then after that you kind of go over it. So would you still consider yourself in that phase of culture shock? Are you still surprised by so many discoveries you find in Kuwait, or do you think yourself more, accustomed to it by now?
Yeah, so this is my 10th year in Kuwait. I'm definitely, I'm past culture shock, but anytime, I think anytime that you experience a culture, you're going to see things that you don't expect.
Yeah.
I think I'm at the point now where I've kind of like solidified my understanding, and then I experience something that doesn't match my understanding. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, how is that? You're supposed to be like this. So yeah, I definitely feel a sense of like, okay, how do you describe this sense of feeling like I feel more at home here often than I do in the US because I'm here 10 months out of the year. Like you feel this sense of like at peace, and I think after culture shock you get to the state of acceptance. I'm at the state of acceptance now. It's like this feels good. I always miss Kuwait when I'm in the States. So yeah, I feel like I'm past culture shock for sure.
I think you're past acceptance as well.
Yeah.
I think you're more of a local than I am at
Yeah,
this point. You're going to all the
Say
places. Mashallah, honestly. Like I didn't even know that Friday Market had so many antiques.
I'll take you next time.
Please do. Buy some cool things for the home.
Yes.
Would you say that your role as a teacher helps you with the cultural exchange, especially since you're dealing with a lot of local students?
Yeah, definitely. So majority of my students are Kuwaiti. I would say 95% are Kuwaiti. When I'm around my students, I'm just like a sponge. I just am soaking it all in, learning, understanding like what's cool, what's not cool. And I think also being around different generations,
Yeah,
you
for
learn
sure.
different things. So like we have Kuwaiti friends, we go to their house. They are trying to teach us as much as possible, but there's a lot to learn. But yeah, definitely when I'm around my students, we're not supposed to, like, it's an English class, right? I'm not supposed to speak Arabic, but I'm always asking them questions in Arabic, and like I'll always like getting free Arabic lessons on the side because they don't think of it as a lesson, but I feel like my students, they love to teach me about Kuwaiti culture, and they love to teach me about the language, and they're open to help me understand because it's something that's important to them.
So let's go back and put the shoe on the other foot. Like, let's talk about friends who come to visit you in Kuwait, family and friends, acquaintances who are stepping foot in Kuwait. Now that you're an honorary Kuwaiti citizen, like, how is that process like? Where do you take them? How do you show them their first few days, their
Yeah.
first week? What is that process like?
Yeah, so I always take them. Mubaraki is always first.
Right.
when it's not the summer. Yeah, in the winter, it's always Mubarakiyah, which I never tell people to come during the summer. Like Kuwait's so beautiful during the winter.
Yeah.
People have to experience that. And Mubarakiyah is always the first stop that we go to. Usually I take them to Mubarakiyah, I show them the shops there, and then I'm like, just wait. Let me take you to Friday Market, then we can come back and buy that piece if you still want it. So yeah, Mubarakiyah's first, and then obviously I'm gonna say something very cliche. I take them to the avenues.
Understandable.
It's an amazing place. Like, how do you not like? I love seeing my friends' faces when they walk into Avenue. They're just like, "What is this?
Like, this is
place?"
a mall?
Like, this is we're still inside. Like, yeah, I think taking them to the avenues. Yeah, those are my two top places. We always take our friends there. It's like the old souk and the new souk. We take them to those places.
Is there any piece that you found that really sparked your interest or was really valuable?
Yeah, so I found this. This is something so interesting. I was at a used furniture souk in Kuwait, and somebody had these gigantic paintings, these portraits of the Mughal Emperor Akbar the Great.
Okay.
And they're huge. They're like seriously this tall from the ground.
Oh, wow.
And it's Akbar and then I think one of his wives. And I ended up sending I sent pictures to somebody in the UK who's like an expert on Mughal artwork. And she said that they're from the late 1800s. They're authentic. Obviously not from the time of Akbar, but still like this piece of beautiful Indian artwork that was in a space that it didn't match. Like this should be in a gallery, and I was able to buy it because it wasn't at a gallery. I was able to buy that piece, and it's they're two of my favorite things I've ever found. They're so stunning.
That's honestly like a really great steal for you, I would say.
Yeah, no, totally.
But unfortunately, that's all of the time we've had on the Untold. So with that in mind, I do want to thank you first for your role as an educator, and second for your role in finding antiques. But third, and most importantly, is because you show your friends Mubarakiyah, the first thing they do when they were there in Kuwait. So thank you again for joining us.
Of course, thank you so much. It's been great.
And with that, dear viewers, we have concluded the conversational segment of the Untold. We are going to take a very quick break and we'll come right back after it. And that wraps our today's episode of The Untold. Another insightful episode, another fun episode with Joshua. He was kind enough to share with us. He was kind enough, to take our humor. He was very funny, lighthearted. Brilliant episode.
I agree. I love the way he described his experiences from growing up from such a diverse background and coming all the way to Kuwait, where even though he experienced some cultural shock, he fell in love with the country and feels at home here. I loved hearing that there were so many connections between Kuwaiti and Mexican culture, and that he felt at home here.
Right. Something I didn't go into the episode, it slipped my mind, is that when I was studying, actually I was friends with a lot of people from Latin America, a lot of, Mexicans, and he was right. The amount of culture exchange between us was very little because we share so much, right? We share the same bonds, we share the same ideas on life. It really felt, when I was studying there, it felt like I was being with family. And then so when he came here, it felt like he was also with family because that's where he came from. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
It does make sense. And it was really cool to hear what he had to say about the antiques in Kuwait,
Right.
and that he went to probably our most culturally significant places like the Friday Market in Mubarakiyah, and he finds all kinds of amazing treasures there that people would overlook, but in his eyes are something magical.
Yeah. But with that in mind, that's the end of today's episode of The Untold. But until the next one, goodbye for now.
Goodbye.